Hello, hello. I don't know if Lillian is. We might need to start the program even while. Yes. And I'll be surprised if she didn't get it this time. As a matter of fact, she's the thank you. She got in and she's logging on now. So let me know when it's a go. Yes, indeed. Did everybody get a glimpse of that bite? I know. Okay. She's in. I'm seeing.
Hello, George. How are you? Oh, no, I'm so sorry
We saw the photo.
that you didn't need to see.
That's quite all right.
Yes.
Thank you very, very, very much. This is Wave Your Grades, the program that is dedicated to our veterans, even our active duty troops, asking American students to strive for excellence in honor of our troops. Wave Your Grades comes to you live Saturdays from 1 until 2 p.m. right here on KUAW.org. And for Wave Your Grades, asking students to go beyond just waving the flag, but wave your accomplishments. Let me give you just a part of our theme song. And of course, the name of the theme song is also Wave Your Grades. And we will give part of it for the beginning of today's show. And once you hear a few of those words, we will continue. For those of you who hear, can you hear that all right?
Yeah, we can hear it.
In this parade, please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. I said, in this parade, please wave your grades at the brave who fight for you. If you don't gain, they fight in vain. Show them what you can do. Show them what you can do. Please show them what you can do. Now, Brother Walker, it looks like we just added an element to the theme song. Wave Your Grades and wave Lillian's hands. She is our very special guest this afternoon. We're going to talk about academics, no doubt. And as an introduction to our program, each week we are praying for new listeners as we go along. And we would like for them to know not just about KUAW.org, but also the Black Family Technology Awareness Association, because we could not be with you without Louis George Walker, founder of KUAW. And please, Brother Walker, will you talk about access and the Black Family Technology Awareness Association?
Well, gladly. Carl, thank you very much for that introduction. I would like to let everybody know that right now you're listening to KUAW Radio. This is a project of the Black Family Technology Awareness Association in cooperation and partnership with the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center right here in Kansas City. We came together and formed this radio station called Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom. KUAW are call letters. So KUAW Radio is coming to you live right now on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. You can just type in KUAW-radio or KUAW Radio, and we'll come up on those. So we'd like for you to share and like this program so that every time we go live, you will see us. So put a like mark by it in Facebook or on YouTube or on Twitter, so that you can get it. You can also pick us up on our 24-hour-a-day audio line, where we are more like a regular radio station. We have talk shows, we have music, we have blues, we got jazz, smooth jazz, and all of your favorite talk shows are on here. So you can pick us up on the online radio box. You can pick us up on Radio Garden. You can pick us up on the TuneIn app or My Tuner. Any of those you go to and just click on and you can get us. Also, if you have a Google or Amazon smart speaker, tell it to play KUAW, and we'll be on there also. Yes, we're all over the internet. This is an internet radio station, and you can pick it up on our website, which is www.kuaw.org. So that's on 24 hours a day. So right now we want to give this show back to our live broadcast, which you are watching with Mr. Carl Boyd and his lovely guests on Wave Your Grades. So Carl, take it away.
Thank you so very, very much. And you mentioned our lovely guest this afternoon in the name of Lillian Batey, coming to us from Atlanta, Georgia. But those of us who are in Kansas City, Missouri, know her from Kansas City, Kansas. Lillian Batey, thank you for being with us this afternoon.
And thank you very much for inviting me, Carl, to be a guest on today of all days. And happy holidays, Kansas City.
There you go. Well, Lillian Batey, please tell our audience what you are doing.
Well, many of your audience out of Kansas City already know that I've been laying low key for a couple of months due to an incident, but I'm back now.
Praise God.
As many of them already know, this is my favorite time of year, my time to be able to be a blessing to a child somewhere in need. That's where I get my joy from and how I celebrate my Christmas every year. So on Christmas Day, while everybody else is running around doing whatever, I get to rest and sleep and thank God for one more opportunity to serve.
Well, now, you know that what we are asking is for American students to strive for excellence in honor of our troops. So every opportunity we get on the program, Wave Your Grades, to talk about something that is positive as it relates to our children learning, even above and beyond year-round. You're celebrating the holidays. Tell us about STOSH Incorporated, STOSH Incorporated, and what you do year round.
Well, as we were talking earlier, I had to restudy my math, and I discovered that approximately 29 years ago, our paths crossed at a time when children were being suspended from school in Wyandotte County, all over Kansas City, but that was my primary area. But no alternative schools, no places to go. A lot of them were ending up in trouble with the law and incarcerated, and some even dead. That God laid on my heart to begin a tutoring program, which transpired into an alternative school and eventually after school summer camp and so on. And that's what I did for 11 years in Kansas City until I relocated here in 2002 and have continued by way of running after school programs in places like the Covington Housing Authority, Nelson Heights, on down the line, and as well as going back into the school system to tutor. So I can't seem to get away from this thing called education. And now we have moved up a step to also offer a mobile academic program where we were fortunate enough to purchase a bus for our organization a year ago that is equipped with computers and internet, smartphone, TV, wireless speakers, and the works to be able to serve children anywhere. Because of the pandemic, things kind of shut down, and I had to go under another organization to see how things worked. And I have been blessed to be assigned as a tutor with Varsity Tutors that has kept me busily working since August. And as you said, Carl, we know that we have children everywhere that are in need. My biggest joy or thrill was to get a child all the way from Alaska. I have been tutoring children from California, New York, Texas, Minnesota, Miami. It took a while before I even got one for right here in Georgia. But I have a Georgia kid that lives up in Noonan. So this has just been a whole new thrill for me to be able to tutor online and be able to work with children. And I've just been getting the joy out of it. And I thank God. And this is what I'm trying to get back to Stosh, Sojourner Truth, to be able to do on her own. So we're working on that.
Well, I am particularly gratified that I have known you that long. And let me tell you what is very interesting. August 27th, 1999.
Yes.
Wanda and I relocated to Arizona. And at the time that we had our program at Friendship Baptist Church, and Wanda and I were talking about leaving and hating to leave Lillian Batey, whose program was thriving in Kansas City, Kansas. Did you have any idea that early on that 3 years later you would be relocating to Georgia?
That was my dream, Call.
Oh, so that was already your dream.
Oh, yes. When I first moved to Georgia on the midnight train,
Uh-huh.
I fell in love with Georgia way back in 1978 when I came to continue my education at Spelman College. It was just something different here in Georgia. I saw African Americans in positions of power. That's the one thing that sticks in my mind. Politicians that were sticking together, working together, encouraging others to just support them, to get out and participate. And it was just, and the weather, like today, yesterday, our weather was like 70 degrees in December. And it's just a blessing. It's a total difference. The church that I've attended has been a true inspiration to me, which is New Birth and Missionary Baptist Church. I've been fortunate enough to just leave and come back and pick up and continue where I left off. So that was my dream.
Well, before I go to the next thing, let me say, was that Brother Thomas this morning who was talking about the weather in Georgia.
Yes, it was.
I knew that you were in a hurry this morning, so I did not get a chance to let him know that this week it was 70 plus in Kansas City, Missouri.
I heard.
So there you go.
He
But-
did, but I did.
Okay, well, let me say this to you before we move on. Someone very special to both of us who has progressed tremendously. Give us an update, if you will, on Sane Bate.
Sane Bate, my baby, and the one that probably is responsible for this whole organization coming together, because my child was assaulted on the streets of Kansas City 3 weeks after she started school. And I decided at that point that before I let them whip her into a gang, I would become the gang leader. And she has gone from thinking she had probably such a terrible mother, because I was always there fighting and advocating for not just her, but for all children, has managed to get married and start a IT company. And some of you all are already following her on Instagram and TikTok and all of those social media websites where she's doing her own thing right now, training as well as trying to maintain a woman-owned business in IT. So if anybody out there is in need of her services, you can give me a call or you can email me at takeoverlearning@gmail.com and I'll put you in contact with her, but she's doing great.
Outstanding. And from all of us, congratulations to her, and of course, blessings and greetings. Now, having said that, as it relates to the technology, when we talk about 29 years ago versus 2022, we might as well say, but the end of 2021, how much have you had to learn? How much have I had to learn where technology is concerned to continue to tutor, to continue to interact in the way that you do?
Oh, that has become a multitude assignment because technology is constantly changing. One of the things that I guess I can say is I don't think I got into the game at a later time. I recall taking a class at Spelman College and I could not figure out what this piece of metal was doing. And I was determined that I refused to allow a piece of metal to outsmart me. So I went out and I purchased a Commodore 64.
Yeah, now I want you to repeat that, and then I want Louis George Walker to respond when you repeat.
I don't even think that company's in business anymore. It was called Commodore 64 computers. Okay. And I set up every night, flipping the pages, determined I was going to figure out how this thing did what it did. Okay, George, it's your turn. Yes.
Well,
Oh, Lord.
Well, let me tell you, Brother Walker, you might identify with this. I had the occasion to visit a plant in Denver, Colorado, and they had something called a mainframe that looked like the projects where I grew up. It was so big. So,
Lord.
I think so. You could, I can just see somebody when you say now for the capacity to hold what we need to know. How large is that computer now? I can see somebody reaching in their purse or their back pocket
Or the microchip.
and then show you the microchip that's we didn't start using the term nano until all of this came about. Let me remind those who are watching and listening that this is Wave Your Grades. We are on KUAW.org, emanating from the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center, and have the pleasure this Saturday afternoon of our guest, Lillian Batey, who has been advocating for young people for 3 decades, but not just a social and legal advocate, but indeed an educator. And if we were to visit your quote, plant, unquote, if we were to look at services available at your home location now, in addition to a bus, what might we see, or what might we visit inside of that bus?
Oh, wow. You asked that question. I should have taken the walk to the bus. Yeah, still might. Carl, you know, this is one of the most exciting times of the year for me. One of the things that you would see is me continuing to provide the educational enrichment services, my big ring light that makes me feel like I'm on Broadway now when I go live with the children.
Yes, yes.
A storage over here full of blessings that have been donated that I'm using now to every child that comes online. If they come on acting crazy, I go get the pom-poms and we do a pom-pom dance. Okay. I know some of my parents probably say this woman is lost it, okay? I have to do whatever it takes to reach our children right now. And I'm having a ball doing it, okay? You would also see, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, if I had known that when I played the theme song, I would have asked for the pom-pom.
I should have already had ready, but I guess my mind is on another train because I have been so wanting to drive my bus again until I decided this Christmas I was going to turn my bus into the Angel Bus, and we were going to travel around donating toys to children. This is the first year out in years that I've ever received my toys from Toys for Tots early. And it was like 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. I thought it was going to be not really good items, but you know, God always looks out for us. Praise and we ended up with over 500 good toys for the children. So I'm now in the process of getting ready to decorate my bus with as the Angel Bus. So she can fly away to the neighborhood.
My goodness.
And be able to serve children. And this year we have decided to collaborate with Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. We will be taking at least 100 toys to each children's hospital starting the week of December the 19th through the 24th. Dropping off 100 toys at each site. And then I am also going to be working with 50 families from the school where I used to tutor from. Now, we're not going to stop until all the toys are delivered.
My goodness. Lillian Batey, please, again, give us contact information for you.
All right. You can email me at takeoverlearning, that's TAKEOVERLEARNING @gmail.com. You can call me directly at 678-304-7916. You can go to our website at www.stosh, that's STOSH Inc.org. Or you can just join me on Facebook because I'm out there now almost every day.
Now, that is interesting. That is interesting to me, Lillian Batey. And of course, as we go along, before we end this program, we'll ask for contact information again. But when we think about celebrating the holidays, when we think about child advocacy, those are things social. Now, educational, you were attempting to help me bring on Latonya Mcdowell.
Yes.
And there's a reason I mentioned her. Lillian, we are emanating from the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center
Yes.
in Kansas City, Missouri, at today's Black Family Technology Awareness Association board meeting. Sharonda Matthews sounded to me like Latonya Mcdowell in terms of virtual learning and virtual tutoring.
Yes.
If some parent were listening and they were going to take down your contact information, what could you tell them about Latonya Mcdowell, her role?
Well, Latonya and I have agreed to collaborate together where she would basically take responsible for the day program of children that need to be in school, in class, or online to receive the information that has been designated through the Georgia milestones or Georgia state regulations to work with those children during the daytime and then refer them on to the Sojourner Truth program to provide the tutoring and assist them and making sure that they are able to understand their assignments first of all and then complete them to be returned back to school. So it was, we are in the process of developing a full-fledged comprehensive program.
Now, one of the things that is important, when Latonya was talking about New School Village,
yes,
she mentioned children in underserved communities, children at risk.
yes.
When Lillian Batey was talking about your beginnings 3 decades ago, it
yes.
dealt with children who were challenged, children underserved, children who were being bullied. Now, we want our audience, our viewers and listeners to know that if your children have never been in trouble, that's all right too.
Yes.
Because what they are learning is going to help their capacity to succeed in the classroom. And after that, all of the children are welcome. But how is it that Latonya, now this many years later, is also serving the underserved communities, the children at risk? And do you find the parents responsive?
I have to say that number one, we're always going to be, there's always going to be an underserved community.
Yes.
No matter what we do, it's just how we do it. And this is one of the things I guess God has drawn me to those types of communities to help children. And it is in a way unique that Latonya's heart was already drawn towards that population of children. As a matter of fact, she used to work in a foster care facility and
Wow.
she took on one of the young ladies in the foster care who she is now adopted as her daughter. So that's how the two of us, I guess, are so combined together. But to answer your question, in order for us to continue, will you repeat your question one more time? I want to make sure I'm answering it exactly.
What I was wondering, over a 3-decade period, you're talking about 29 years.
Yes.
Lillian Batey has always been able somehow to tap into resources for the underserved and get them to respond. Over 29 years, do you find that the parents are equally responsive now? Is the need greater? Is it the same? What have you seen over this period of time?
Based on me just now returning to the teaching field as of August and the type of children that have been referred to me, I get a lot of good parent support. I'm thankful that they are literally sitting there with the child from the beginning. But what I don't want is that child to become dependent on the parent and expecting the parent to give an answer. So I've had to tell certain parents after I see that I have their child's attention, I'm like, okay, mommy, okay, and daddy, I got men and women, yes. You can go find something else to do. I got this. And they go all about their business and but they in the other room or somewhere listening. So they know if I'm having a problem or that child is not focusing or whatever, they coming in, they calling, they responding, or I'm texting on the phone. So
Now,
yes.
Hold it right there. I don't know, Brother Walker, I saw something pop up. Were you getting ready to say something? Okay, thank you very much, because this is an area that is so important where parents are concerned. And Lillian, you might even elaborate on it from this standpoint. On one hand, you do a beautiful job of getting parents involved. On the other hand, what you are explaining to us now is involvement doesn't mean enabling, but being involved enough to help the children learn how to learn.
Supportive, yes. Yes.
So if I were a school superintendent, don't need to say this to you, you've been living it for all of these many years. There are certain people the principal will go to and call upon because this particular student needs somebody who understands, but who is not going to coddle them at the same time. Lillian, there are some of our colleagues who think it's worse now than it has ever been, but sometimes we exaggerate. How would you compare now to then?
What I can say, even as far back as just 2 years ago, when I was still substituting long-term in the schools, for some reason, the vice principal, whenever she'd have a troubled child, that child ended up in my classroom.
Thank you.
And it wouldn't matter. I'm like, okay, y'all, I'm teaching pre-K today. I got a 5th grader that I had to make lay down and take a nap with the rest of the kids. You want to act like a 2-year-old or pre-K, you get to do what they do. Okay, and I couldn't understand that. I mean, children that it seemed like nobody else could handle, they would bring them to me. And I'm like, okay, they must be trusted that I'm not going to break your neck or choke you.
Well,
there is a big difference now, Carl, than it used to be. It used to be a time when you had a problem with your child, you could call that parent and that parent would get on the child no matter what time of day it was. And I could see a change in their behavior. And then something changed where parents started siding with their children or becoming friends with their children or negotiating, where the child became the right person and the parent wanted to jump on, beat up, or curse out the teacher because the teacher will not let their child have their way. I've had it both ways. But I'm at a point right now where I think the parents have been locked in so long with their children, and in a way this pandemic has become a blessing for some, until they realized what teachers had to go through for 8 hours dealing with their child because they were stuck for 24. Now they are like, whatever it takes, whatever you have to do to make my child focus or pay attention or whatever, I'm with you. That's how I feel.
Now, this is interesting, and I won't be surprised if George Walker joins in, but not obligatorily. You don't have to. But George Walker will recall the number of times when my guests and I are hanging around in the studio, where we have had, Lillian, the occasion to say that there was a time when a teacher would have to reprimand a student. The student would go home, complain to the parent, and the parent's immediate and predictable response would be, "What did you do?"
Yes,
Now that was then.
exactly.
And that was when there was a kind of natural partnership between the home and the school, between the parent and the teacher. Those of us who are old enough, so that's why I look at my brother George, and he and I are oftentimes the oldest people in the room. Lillian Batey follows us by some years, but we enjoy the conversation of a time when you could reprimand a girl for the way that she was dressed.
Yes.
You could tell a boy, if you don't come in tomorrow with your haircut, I'll cut it for you. And the parents, rather than complain, would thank you for doing it.
Yes.
If you had, even in more recent times for us, a beeper or a phone, the teacher could say, bring them up here and put them in the drawer and you'll get them at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Now it's standard equipment. If you can't answer a question, who has your phones? Okay, look it up.
Or they calling their parents when things don't go right.
Exactly.
Yes.
So now, let me ask, oh, by the way, I'm sorry, Brother Walker, I said you might want to jump in, so please don't hesitate. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, because everything was not perfect then. And we would have to admit that we had some colleagues who took unfair advantage of the authority that we were given, because later on, the mother and the father would say, I'm not coming over there for you, and I'm at work, or I don't have time, or those kinds of things. But here we are, very close to 2022. My wife, Wanda, our pastor in Arizona, the Reverend Isaac Petrie Sr. at Antioch Missionary Baptist Church, accused me of having the gift of faith. I am a chronic optimist. I really see positive things on the horizon. So for either Brother Walker or Sister Lillian, what things about young people cause you to be optimistic?
You need to go first, Mr. Walker.
Yes. Brother Louis George Walker, thank you. Sister Batey.
Well, I have to add to that. I think many people have already forgotten about the March for Our Lives, where that was one of the largest events in 2018, I believe it was, where the young people began to come together and they marched all over basically the world. on that day. It was on a Saturday afternoon, and I never will forget because it broke my heart when I began to start seeing high school students that were literally walking out of high school wanting to be a part of a protest and getting, I guess, suspended or sent home or whatever. And one of the things that I will not be able to forget, Carl, is I was substituting on a half a day. I left to go home, and on my way, I encountered high school, Stone Mountain High School, the students there. They had literally walked out of the school all because they wanted to be a part of a national protest that other high schools were participating in. And I encountered the children that somewhat walking in the street, and they didn't seem to be organized. And God would not allow me to ride past this group of kids because I was concerned about their safety, number one. I pulled over, I got out, I walked across the street, and I said to them, I said, I understand you all desire to want to protest, and you have that right. I said, I am one of you. I said, I'm a certified teacher who could possibly lose my job for standing up for what's right. I said, but I'm on you all side. I said, what I think we need to do is go back to the school and see if they would allow me to come in and talk to you all about organizing yourselves for this march that was coming up. When we got back to the school, they would not even let these students back in, all because they walked off the property. So they were expecting them to sit outdoors in I guess the bleachers or whatever, or over by the field until school was out, knowing that a lot of these kids ride the school buses to school, had no other way to get home. I spent over 30 minutes to an hour calling the Board of Education, DeKalb County, saying to them, are you actually going to leave these kids sitting outside in the car after it has rained and the bleachers are wet and they can't sit down until time for them to go home? They wanted to know, ma'am, who are you? My name is Lillian Batay. I'm a certified teacher. I'm one of you all, and y'all know who I am. I said, but you know, this is totally out of order. They eventually let them, I think, come back into school, but they wouldn't allow me to come in to talk to them. I spent the next 4 hours going from their call to a local restaurant to a church, which I don't want to say their name, asking for just a space to be able to bring the young people together and help them organize themselves, because I felt like our Black kids should have been on the front line. And there was no place here that I found to be able to go and do so. And on the day of that march, if you recall, it was in downtown Atlanta. John Lewis was here. I had an opportunity to take a picture with him because that was at the time I had injured my ankle and I could not walk. But if I had had a motorized scooter, I would have been riding with them.
Yes.
And it broke my heart so bad. I have to share this because it wasn't until after it was over with, one of the elders at our church came in and said she was traveling across the country. She got to certain places like New York or whatever. There was hundreds of Caucasians catching buses, trains, or whatever, trying to get to that march. And she asked the question, and I hate to say it, but I'm gonna have to say it. She said, "New birth, where were you?" This was the same church that told me that I could not have a meeting there because it was against the policy to allow outsiders to come in. We talking about youth, okay? But a year later, you allow Kanye West to come into the church and bring thousands of young people off the street. This lady was preaching and she said, "Where were you?" And when she said it, all I could do was get up and walk up the aisle in tears. And all I could remember saying is, "God, I tried to give them the message that you gave me to just help train our young people." So I hate to say it, but you touched a real sensitive spot right there.
Well, now, the interesting thing about that is that you have the capacity to speak to optimism out of a negative situation.
Yes.
And that's what God does.
Yes.
And when you talked about the young people demonstrating, interestingly enough, yesterday, I was talking to a young man who happens to have been a student at Stone Mountain, now in the Kansas City community, working for the Boys and Girls Clubs.
My
The
God.
story I shared with him was July 10th, 1966. Soldiers Field, Chicago, Illinois. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had come to talk about housing and was going to march on the south side of Chicago. Pouring out of the bleachers at Soldiers Field came some youngsters all dressed alike, obviously touting an affiliation with a particular set. There were so many of these youngsters that people began to get nervous and determine whether or not they might need to leave Soldiers Field. The disc jockey who was emceeing the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s visit was a gentleman who called himself Herb Kent, the Cool Gent. And Herb Kent, the Cool Gent, after about 1,200 of these youngsters had poured into the field, said, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Blackstone Rangers." And we gave them a standing ovation for their standing and demonstrating with Dr. King when their reputation was that of a South Side gang. And the three of us, I think, would agree that if we could seize upon every opportunity where there is a major gathering of youth and turn what some people see as a negative into a positive,
Yes.
helping them to know how important they are, how much we need them, how much we are on their side, what we can do if we could work together, then like Lillian Batey, I can say I remain optimistic, not because everything is wonderful, but because even under adverse circumstances, there are young people who are still determined to do better.
Yes.
I cannot thank you more as it relates to the kind of thing that you're doing. And if there's one thing, here again, I always say, Brother Walker, because of our tenure, let me just put it that way. But one of the things that we have learned over the years is one of the chief measurements of leadership is consistency. So it does not matter what Lillian Batey has encountered over these 30 years. There is no one who knows her, close to her, distant from her, agree with her or disagree, who can say that she's inconsistent. Sister Batey, God put you on this path, gave you this mission, this ministry, and even if you thought you wanted to stop, here will come another bus to pick you up. And I just wonder, can you capture for us, once again, this is Wave Your Grades, KUAW.org, emanating from the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center in Kansas City, Missouri. Louis George Walker, founder of KUAW.org, engineering and producing for us, and our very special guest, Sister Lillian Batey, who is a child advocate, an underserved community advocate, a professional educator. Now, having said all of that, let me go back to the question I was getting ready to pose. Can you fix for us what it is that compels you to remain consistently in the lives of these particular young people?
Carl, you said it just a minute ago when you said that word faith, because at the time when I began this walk, I had no idea what I was doing or how long I would be doing it.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is God laid something in my heart and I couldn't get away from it. And like you said, even when I tried, it was like he kept picking me up and putting me down back over saying, but I called you, but I called you. And this is why I've had to accept that, to the point where when I started the alternative school program, my children had to come in the door every day and say the prayer of faith, which says, God is my help in every need. God does my every hunger feed. God walks beside me, guiding my way through every moment of the day. I now am wise, I now am true, patient, kind, and loving too. All things I have, can do and be through Christ, the strength that is in me. God is my health, I can't be sick. God is my strength, unfailing, quick. God is my all, I know no fear, since God and truth and love are here. I never knew. I used to hear people talk about a prayer of faith until I saw my mother had this little ceramic Bible that she used to put on the coffee table in the dining room. And I never took the time to read the words inside the Bible till one day. It was actually a real prayer of faith. So all I can say is Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And I've always hoped to be able to leave an impression, an impact, a legacy before my time is up. And this is what I'm doing right now, is standing up to get back in line to complete the assignment that God has called me to do, which is serving our children. And once again, he's blessed me with the 500 toys. And he made this so stress-free. You know, I called when we used to do the Christmas parties in Kansas City. I have to have people go to a website and sign up, and we print out all these forms, and then we try to fill them for families, and then we try to get shopping department stores to donate shopping bags to put all the toys in, to staple them the night before we had the party. So when the party started, we were rolling like 1, 2, 3. Okay, he's made it where I haven't even had to do that this year. I heard a story. I gotta share this last story a week ago on the news. Because when I signed up to get my toys this year, my goal was to serve children who had been affected by COVID-19, violent crimes, homelessness, or foster care. And I started calling places like DFACS and going around to hotels where extended stay hotels, and everybody kept saying they had somebody that was sponsoring them, or I couldn't get in touch with anyone. But I called down to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta after hearing this story about children who were being affected or who had COVID-19 and had lost their toenails with no possibility of them growing back again. It brought tears to my eyes because, as some of you all know, I'm just going through healing from a slip and fall. Yes. Where I had to have surgery back in April, couldn't walk for months, and couldn't even stand the sheets on my bed to touch my skin because it felt like sandpaper. So when they said this, told the story, all I could do is feel the pain that these children were going to. And I said, God, how do I find that population of children? And I was told to call the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. So starting Monday, December the 20th, we will be delivering 100 toys to children in 4 different children's hospitals, where we don't even have to fill out a piece of paper. We just show up with 100 toys for each site. But we do need your support still, Kansas City, as a way of helping us keep this bus going and helping me earn my wings. We want to be able to make sure that we have enough to be able to serve all the children. So please, yes.
Let me ask one more time, contact information, Sister Lillian Batey.
You can email me at takeoverlearning@gmail.com. That's takeoverlearning@gmail.com, because that's my goal, is to take it over. You can go to my website at www.stosh, that's STOSH Inc.org. That is the abbreviation for the Sojourner Truth Observational Study Home Motel Incorporated. Or you can call me directly at 304-7916. You can also join me on Facebook. I'm starting to get back out there. Send me a private message and I will respond and come back to contact you as soon as possible. And Carl, I just want to thank you because people don't realize that 29 years ago, by me just saying, I wanted to meet this man named Carl Boyd, not knowing that I was speaking to one of his frat brothers. And within days, it came to pass. So my faith is still
Praise God.
as long as it
Praise
was
God.
back there, because he blessed me to be able to meet you.
And the same here. As I say, you gave such credibility to what we were attempting to do. And there were many people who would love to have done what you did, but there were more people saying, now, how did she do that? And you and I both know the answer.
Yeah.
Now, and let me just say before I do sign off that I hear you when you say, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Let me just say that on this day, Lillian Batey is evidence of what I am seeing, and I feel blessed to be a witness. So thank you, Lillian Batey.
Yes, sir. Thank
I
you.
always, and you know what? You at the board meeting this morning were one of the few people who keeps up with my offering a morning message. So I am closing with today's message to students across the USA. Your Stoots for Boots message for this day. Our troops say thanks to American students who are doing what you should. Some students sometimes seem to be bad, but the great majority are good. Now that's the December 4th message. God knew that it would fit Lillian Batey's message. December 4th, our troops say thanks to American students who are doing what you should. Some students sometimes seem to be bad, but the great majority are good. Thank you, Lillian Batey.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Boyd and Mr. Walker, for allowing me to share this hour with both of you.
Thank you. God bless you.
So very welcome.
Thank you very much, Lewis George Walker. In behalf of Wave Your Grades, a Stoots for Boots production, gracious God and wonderful Wanda, I'm on my way
On
home.
his way home.